Hello, everyone. Hello, hello, hello. I need to fix. Oh, no, that's right. Let's see. Do these come through on the stream? They should.
Good guess, but actually no.
Okay, good. Kid is just a couple minutes behind. She will be here shortly. So until then, you're stuck with me and only me. I'm sorry. What can I say? You should be able to hear me all right, and everything's looking 5x5 on my end, which is good. There was an update for Windows, and it almost messed up all my stuff, but amazingly not in Discord. It was OBS that was having trouble, but I got it all sorted. I got it all sorted out. This is unfair. I want my money back. Sure, you will get a full refund in the mail by check within the next 7 to 10 business days. That check will be for nothing. I hope everyone had a nice Sunday and a good weekend. It was a quiet one around here. Did have a couple of folks swing by and we played some board games. D&D did not happen due to somebody in the group getting close contact, which is a bummer. But we'll move on. We'll be fine. We'll get to it in a couple of weeks. So, it is what it is. But yeah, overall, my weekend was pretty relaxing, pretty quiet. Actually, yesterday I was not super productive. I did get out in the morning, and I managed to get into town. I needed a new hairbrush really bad, so I got up, did a couple of things in town, and was home by like 11 a.m., and then I didn't do anything the rest of the day but laze around. Oh, no, get that alone. Get that recharge time. No, with how much working has been going on for you, I totally get it. But yeah, it was nice. I am almost done watching season 1 of Our Flag Means Death, which is brilliant. And I can't believe I slept on that show for as long as I did. I should have been watching it ages ago. I have watched the first few episodes of season 2 of Jessica Jones during my Defender Saga rewatch. That's been fun. That series is still so good. Let's see. Another movie for today was a fun one. We're talking Darkwing Duck tomorrow night. Those were the days. I'm stoked. I can't wait to talk about that one. That'll be a ton of fun. What's been going on? I did finish the storyline playthrough on Borderlands 3. That was fun. It was actually kind of a cool... I enjoyed the story a little bit. I mean, it's a Borderlands game, right? So like the story is fine. But I kind of liked the twist that they tossed in there. I thought it was cute. I had a good time with it. I don't need this open anymore. Yeah. Oh yeah. Darkwing Duck. I got to come up with a good intro for it now. Oh, I need to trim the mustache. Getting a little scraggly. Getting a little scraggly there. Tower of Fantasy, how's that? Is that one pretty fun? Oh, I did, well, that's good. I did get Bella to the vet on Friday. So she's got a clean bill of health. She's doing well. Her ear infection is all gone. So interesting concept and story so far. Cool. So now that I've finished Borderlands 3, I mean, I'll keep it installed for a little while just to kind of be another one of those games that. Cult of the Lamb. What was the other one I saw? Faye, what did you think of Biomutant? You liked that, right? Because I think that was on sale for like $20. Do you think it's worth playing, or was it sort of a meh? You liked it? Okay. Because it went on sale. That might be a fun one to play. I've been kind of worn down on extra streams recently, but I'm trying to get back some of my my streaming mojo. If you sort of it's like Borderlands Fallout. Okay, all right. I've got painting projects I need to work on big time, and it helps. It helps me if I stream them, but I also just need to like work on them. But also gaming, like midweek game work has kind of worn me out, and I've like ended work not really wanting to people, so I'm just trying to get that back. I feel like it's been a little while. I think getting back into the swing of things with Let's Watch Highlander starting back up too helps, right? Because then I've got like the Sunday, Monday, Tuesday of doing shows, and it's nice to just kind of unwind and hang out with people on a Wednesday or Thursday or even a Friday to do some gaming in the evening. It's kind of nice. So. Or painting, for that matter. So we'll kind of play around with that a little bit. But yeah, I'm glad to hear things are going well for folks. You know. Cult of Lamb. Yeah, that one looks pretty fun. That one looked pretty fun. I don't know. That's all I got. It hasn't been ridiculously hot, which has made going out for walks a lot better. So that's nice. Bella getting all her walks. Oh, she's all sleepy. She was very mad today because Charlie showed up and didn't have Oswald with him, and she was not happy. She made sure that he knew she was unhappy about that. Hey, we've got Kit arriving.
Yes, so sorry.
No, it's fine.
I'm just gonna go find a cash
husband
machine.
got mandated and called like right at the last minute and was like, "Can you bring me food and coffee? We're starving." And I'm like, the one night, like, they take for granted that I don't do anything, so I don't, and I'm here by myself, so I didn't say anything. And I'm like, I gotta stream, so
it's all
make this
good.
order fast.
We're only a few minutes past 8. No big deal. I was just chatting with everybody about Cult of Lamb. There's some people wanting to play Cult of Lamb. It's a newer game.
Okay.
And what else? Amy wants to play that.
Amy should play Stray.
Yes,
it's a cute cat game.
Amy should play Stray. That is like right up her alley.
It's emotional, but it's good, I promise.
Yeah. What is this? Oh, okay. Nothing important.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I mean, I don't have anything to go over beforehand. You know the show. You've done it a couple times. You've listened to it before. So
yes.
You can hear, I want to make sure you can hear the soundboard.
Good guess, but actually no.
And by your reaction, I'm going to say no because I need...
Can you hear me okay in this mic? I'm not too quiet.
Oh, yeah. Nope. Hear you fine.
Okay.
How about this?
Sometimes maybe good, sometimes maybe shit.
Okay.
Yes.
Good. I said to change my Discord one. Annalisa bought it for you. I'm waiting till you can stream it. Oh, for Stray? Aw, Annalisa bought it for you. That's awesome.
Cool.
She knows the games that you like, so I can see that happening. All right. Well, if you can hear that, then I think we're in good shape. Your levels.
I got my notes.
Cool. Your levels sound good. Your audio sounds great. So we're good to go. All right. So with that in mind, we are going to get started in 3, 2, 1.
That doctor in the operating room. She looked right at me.
She didn't see you, Seth. She can't see you.
No one can see you unless you want them to.
And if I want her to.
Hello and welcome. Welcome and hello. This is Wait You Haven't Seen, and it's a show where we talk about movies, and specifically, we talk about a movie at least one of us has never seen before. I'm your host, Travis, aka TV's Travis. This is episode number 179, and it's still Cage-A-Palooza 2022, our fourth annual Nicolas Cage Fest. Can't believe this. I'm on the fourth year of this already. Joining me to talk about our movie this week is Kit London. Kit, how are you?
Fabulous. How are you?
I am doing quite well. Now, you brought a movie that you have seen before.
Yes.
And you liked quite a bit. I had not, and it's 1998's City of Angels, starring Nicolas Cage and Meg Ryan. And it is, well, let's get into it. It's a movie about angels, set in Los Angeles. It is about an angel who falls in love with a doctor and decides to give up his angelness to be with her. Kind of got that right?
Yes.
Now, I did not know going into it that this was a remake of a film, and I found out afterwards this is a remake of a German film called Wings of Desire. Came out in 1987. And roughly the same storyline. I think this one's probably modified it a little bit, but I was very intrigued when you brought this one up because I remember this movie coming out. I remember the marketing around this movie, and the soundtrack especially was something we'll get into a lot more. But that was about all I knew, really about it. So. It was interesting getting into it. Give me your background, your history with this movie first.
I saw it when it came out, actually, in the theaters, and with just the music. And I love Meg Ryan, and Nicolas Cage was awesome. And I liked the ideas and theories behind everything of like, what would you do for someone you love? Would you fall?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
You know, would you risk everything to be with them? So I was intrigued by the love story and how they mention God, but not really. You know, they kind of how they play with that. It was just intriguing, and I liked that they sit high up.
Yeah, yeah. It's interesting because it's angels. They're clearly angels, but they don't really mention God at all. It's kind of almost like a New Agey angels in a way. In fact, I think the term angel is only said like once or twice in the entire movie.
Yeah, he says he's a messenger. Messenger is used more of a messenger of God.
Yeah, and I know that the Greek word for messenger was angelos, which is where we kind of got angel from.
Mm-hmm.
I did know that, so I thought that was kind of cool that he mentions he's a messenger. The character of Nathaniel Messenger, which I want to get into him because he was awesome. But first, I want to start with, so our leads are Nick Cage and Meg Ryan. Now, this Meg Ryan in 1998 was like everywhere in terms of any kind of romantic movie, especially romantic comedies. I think, had You Got Mail come out by now? I think
it came out around the same time.
Because it was like You've Got Mail, Sleepless in Seattle. Like if it was a romantic comedy, she was in it. Let's see. Yeah, City of Angels. Oh, same year. You've Got Mail was 1998. Yep. Okay. So she was big for that. This isn't a romantic comedy, but it's still like right up her alley in terms of the types of movies that she was doing. Nicolas Cage, on the other hand, while he did different stuff, this was right in his like action movie phase because he had done
after The Rock.
Yeah, like 95, he did Leaving Las Vegas and won his Oscar for that movie. And then 96 was The Rock, 97 was Con Air and Face Off. In 98, he'd made and had Snake Eyes come out, and City of Angels was nestled right in between that. So that was part of why I didn't see this in theaters was, number one, the marketing didn't look like a movie for me, but also I'm like, wow, I just saw The Rock, Con Air, Face Off, and now I'm almost caged out at this point. Like, it's 3 movies in 2 years. This one doesn't look like any of those. This doesn't look like something I'm going to like, so I kind of skipped it. And then I just never came back to it. But it is what it is. So when this movie came out and you saw it in theaters, did you like it right away?
I liked it, but the ending pissed me off.
Yeah. We're definitely gonna be touching on that, and kind of the structure of this movie as a whole is very interesting. But have you kind of grown to not hate the ending as much over time, or does it still bug you?
Actually, this watching, it didn't bother me because I actually found a behind the scenes from like the DVD on like YouTube, and when they were explaining it, I'm like, okay, they explained to me why. It still frustrates me, but at least I got an answer as to why they decided to do that.
Yeah. We might as well just say it. So Nick Cage is an angel, but they're not angels in the classic sense with wings and halos and harps and any of that. They're all of the angels, and there's a lot of angels in this movie, which was not something I expected. For some reason, I had it in my head that there was like, this was more like, what was the movie with Travolta? Michael, where there's like one angel.
Oh, right.
Like, because movies like that had been out where they dealt with angels, but it was always like 1 or 2 of them. And this was like, nah, there's just like, this place is just lousy with angels. Like, they call it the City of Angels for a reason, apparently, in this movie universe, because they're just angels on every building, on every corner, all over and they're all dressed exactly the same. Dark black or dark brown shirts and long coats and dark pants.
Yeah, the costume designer said that they wanted them to be more of that they're in the shadows.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so you've got all these angels everywhere. The main one that we follow is Seth, played by Nicolas Cage. And then we also have Cassiel, who's played by Andre Braugher, who I love. I love Andre Braugher.
Yeah, he was great.
And he's so good in this. And there's a ton of other unnamed angels. I don't even think any of them have dialogue. But they're just everywhere. Now, humans can't see them unless they want to be seen. Although it looks like either they like to have children see them, or children are just able to. I'm not exactly sure. They're sort of they don't go into, this isn't a movie that's like, here are the rules to being an angel. You don't get that, which I appreciate, to be honest. I kind of like the sort of metaphysical and like ethereal nature of everything, and sort of hand waving it away. Mm-hmm. But they can. Did you get a sense that they influenced people?
No, not really. They offer compassion and comfort, according to the director in the script, that they don't really intervene. They just comfort us and our presence, but they don't interfere with anything.
Because I was curious how that would play out, because I couldn't quite tell. I'm like, is there some sort of influence going on, or is it just, but the way you put it is probably a better way. They calm people and let them sort of understand the spot that they're in and what they should be doing at that moment. So I liked that. But they're
there to observe, which is odd.
Yeah. Well, and some might say creepy, which I have thoughts on. I want to go into, because there's some interesting ways to interpret parts of this movie. But he basically, Meg Ryan is a heart surgeon, and she has an instance where her patient dies on the table, and she starts kind of questioning things that are going on. But it's weird, because it's like the movie is simultaneously super on the nose, but not like overt in some ways too, because she's questioning like, well, what am I doing as a doctor if I don't have control over these situations? I did everything right and he still died. There's that line where she's talking to the other doctor, who's her boyfriend, that we find out, played by Colin Fior.
Jordan.
Yeah, Jordan, where she says, we fight, but do you ever think about who we're fighting against? And I thought that was a really interesting way to put that. And Nicolas Cage, he's observing that because he is there. Seth is there to help the guy that was on the table cross over. And he falls for Meg Ryan. He falls for, what's her name? Maggie. And then for the first like hour of the movie, almost hour and a half, is just him trying to figure out what feelings are, because angels don't have feelings. They don't even really have a sense of touch from the way it sounds, or at least not the way that we do. And so it's like an hour and a half of the movie is just him trying to figure this part out and like decide. He eventually does meet Nathaniel Messenger, who's another patient of Maggie's, played by Dennis Franz. He's my favorite character in the movie by far. Like, he is just...
Yeah, I was watching this and I was like, oh, Travis is going to love him.
There's something about, like, for one, I like Dennis Franz. I always have, because he's just got like this thing about him that's just affable and fun, even when he's playing like a dick, like he was in Die Hard 2, or how he could be sometimes on either Hill Street Blues or NYPD Blue. Like, there's still just something super likable about him. And in this, he is playing Nathaniel Messenger, who we find out used to be an angel and became human. And the moment where that reveal is made, like the first part of that reveal when they're in the hospital room, and you've got him, he's laying there, and Seth kind of has his hand over his chest, and then he turns around and starts to walk away, and this is a very somber moment, and all of a sudden Messenger's just like, I can't see you, but I know you're there. And you know it's like Seth was like 1 foot out the door and just like, the hell?
Yeah, what?
And yeah, we find out that he's a fallen angel. And this was one of the things that I really liked that this movie did, was it used the term fallen angels, or angels have to fall, but not in a negative way. Right? Like, it's that term is always, it's Lucifer, the morning star fell and became evil, or most depictions of angels falling, they become bad guys. And in this case, it's not. It's just you literally fall and become a human, which I thought was funny and very on the nose. Like, you literally have to fall from a great height to become a human.
I love what Messenger tells him when Seth reveals himself and is talking and questioning things. He's like, tell me. And Nathaniel tells him, like, well, he gave humans free will. You don't think that applies to us?
Yeah. That was so cool. The ideas of free will that were going on in here. And it's like, yes, they had the free will. None of them know that's a choice. It's not that they're not allowed to. And I kind of liked that too. There wasn't the rules of being an angel, right? Like, even when the clip that I played at the beginning, here's Cassiel and Seth, and they're just in like a convenience store, and they're talking, and he's like, yeah, but she saw me. And he goes, no. She didn't see you. They can't see you unless you let them. And the end of the clip that I played was, well, what if I wanted her to? Cassiel's response to that is great, because it's not that's not allowed, or you can't do that. He's like, why would you want her to? Like, what possible reason could you have? He's like, he doesn't understand why you'd want to, because the angels just don't feel things. Or most of them don't anyway. And it was just, it's cool to wrestle with that idea, and then the whole free will thing. And like, here's Nathaniel Messenger. They go out to a diner, and they're just like, he's ordering like 3 meals, and it all shows up at the table, and he's like, how's the French toast tonight? Oh, it's very good. Why don't you bring some of that over too? And he's just introduces himself as a hedonist. Yeah, he's just shoveling food in.
Gluttonous, hedonist.
and I loved where he starts talking to him, and he tells him, like, I know you're an angel. And he what is it? Seth's response is like, there's no way you could know that. And he goes, let me guess. You live in a library. You know all the languages of man. You move at the speed of thought, which was cool that they did that. And it was like, it gave them a perfectly good reason to just have jump cuts of people disappearing or showing up places, moving at the speed of thought. And he ends up learning that, yes, you can become human, but you give up everything that's being an angel. But for Nathaniel Messenger, it was 100% worth it. He doesn't regret doing it at all. And kind of convinces Seth that it's the thing to do. Meanwhile, he still hasn't told Maggie what he is, but he's revealed himself to her, and she like that. So if I have a problem with the movie, it is that the love story angle of things is interesting, but almost feels like it moves too quickly. If that makes any sense. Like, she goes from not knowing who he is to she just runs into him in the hallway, and what could play as a very awkward and or creepy scene in a different movie, that first interaction in the hallway. Which actually is something I got to get this out before I forget about it, is go with me on this for a second. If you change the music in this movie and add in a few extra sound effects, it goes from a fantasy romance film to some kind of psychological horror really quickly. Because it is shot like a horror movie. And
I can see that.
Like, that fascinated me. I want to talk about that more in a bit, but I still want to get through the kind of the story and some of the actors. So remind me of that, because I don't want to forget that part. But he, like, the interaction with him and Meg Ryan, I thought that they had good chemistry in their scenes together. Like, their scenes worked. I heard recently Nicolas Cage described, and I want to get your take on this because I thought this was a fascinating way to put it, is Nicolas Cage is not your traditionally beautiful person in the way that that a lot of actors are considered to be, traditionally beautiful. But there's an attractiveness to him because of like an intensity that he brings to scenes. And
his eyes.
Yeah. And I kind of got that from this movie because it's a very restrained performance out of Cage. There wasn't, we started on a Cage freakout, but it never got beyond like a 4 on the Cage scale.
I was waiting for it. I was like, okay, where's the angry Cage moment?
Yeah, where's that moment where he goes nuts? And like the closest we got was his rant about the computer and looking someone up, and then he immediately the scene shifts. So, which is nice. I like seeing that because I love the Cage. I love a good Cage freakout. I really do. Like, they're just no one does it like him. But it would have felt really out of place in this. Like, they towed the line of what was going to be sort of allowable, I'm using in air quotes, out of Nick Cage in this, and I liked that. But yeah, so he finds out that he can fall, but meanwhile, like, Maggie is struggling with kind of questioning herself at her job, as well as sort of her relationship with Jordan, which also was weirdly handled, right? Because like, there's nothing wrong with Jordan at all. Seems like a pretty decent guy. He's got her back. He's a doctor. He's got his head on straight, and all that. They're just like, is no spark, I guess, with them.
Yeah, it seemed to me like it was a very intellectual relationship, if that, you know what I mean, to people that they don't really believe in God, but they're very good doctors. Their heads in science are just very intellectual, so it wasn't really overly romantic. But he does pick up her hand and kiss her hand, and he does support her when she loses her patient. He said, hey, I saw this. You did everything right, but it sounds cold to us because it's very not heartfelt, but his mind was there, trying to support her intellectually, telling her you did everything right. That was not your fault.
Yeah, it's an interesting relationship because there's certainly, he's not a bad person. He's not your tropey, stereotypical like boyfriend that treats her poorly or anything like that.
Oh no.
Which is nice, but at the same time, it's like he sort of becomes forgotten in the last act of the movie, where they literally hand wave it away. Like he proposes to her at one point in this movie in what is possibly the most awkward proposal in a film.
Yes.
That isn't, especially when it's not trying to be. Like, it's not a comedy where the proposal is supposed to be awkward. This is like he's trying really hard to be this heartfelt proposal, and I'm watching this and I'm just like, oh, this is a train wreck, and this is just getting worse as it goes. And then that's it. That's the last time we see him. Really, is he proposes and then wants to take her up to Tahoe to her uncle's cabin. And when after Nicolas Cage becomes a human, so he changes from angel to human, he finds out that she went up to Tahoe to her uncle's cabin. And when he gets up there, she's alone. So she like broke it off with Jordan even after the confrontation between her and Seth. So it was very weird. That like the timelines of that and sort of it just felt awkward to me, but go ahead.
Well, she talks to Messenger, and I think she made a house call, but I think she really went to talk to him.
Yeah, that's definitely how that felt.
Because they come off with that they're friends. Because even when she's doing surgery on Messenger, she's replacing a heart valve. She's like, "You can't dial me, not before you give me Seth's number."
Yeah.
So she goes to talk to him, and that's when he tells her that he can fall, that he can give up everything, immortality, his entire existence for her. And I think she goes to break it off because she doesn't feel that she's worthy, that she doesn't want him to do that, but in a nice way that she, like, I'm not worthy, please don't, I'm not worth to give up forever.
Yeah, it was a very, like, it felt like there were things in this movie that could have been accomplished with like a conversation and them talking, but at the same time, how do you start that conversation? Like if you're Nick,
exactly.
if you're Seth, how do you start that? Because you're like, hey, I'm an angel. How are you? I can't feel anything. And like, there's a very weird, interesting scene where they're kind of standoffish while they're making food. And it's our scene with, and again, it could be played very differently, but like it ends with her getting very upset and slapping him because of this whole idea that he's starting to kind of tell her what's going on with him.
Well, he's cutting a head of lettuce.
Yeah.
And she sees the knife go through his thumb, but he's not cut. And she's just like, I'm sorry, what? And she actually takes his hand, takes a knife and puts it in the middle of his palm and runs it down his hand, and it goes right through.
Yeah.
And she goes, and he's trying to play it off like he's cut, and she's not, she grabs his hand and sees that it's not cut. And she goes, I felt it. It went through you. He goes, I don't feel things the way you do.
Yeah, which isn't the first time he said that.
She's freaking out.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And then she starts to freak out and kind of runs away. But it's the awkward nature of him in his angel form that both makes this movie work and is like, okay, I understand why some people don't like it, because I think Cage's performance is really good. I think what he was going for and kind of the way that he acted without, he doesn't really raise his voice a whole lot. The whole movie's very quiet. I should say that. I spent most of it with my headphones on, like, back that up again. I need to listen to that one more time because like both him and Meg Ryan are very quiet, but he's like awkward and he doesn't know the right words to use for things. But he's also like fascinated by humans. And so
he's very curious. It made me think of like a curious cat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. It was a different take on angels, right? Because I've seen like curious angels before, but when I think of like angels curious about human stuff, like the first thing that comes to mind is the way that Kevin Smith wrote them, which is a very Kevin Smith type of character. And this is like the opposite end of that. This is angels that are very curious, or at least Seth is very curious about humans, but like in this very subdued and very quiet way. And so that can come off as very weird, and almost creepy too. Right? Because like, again, he's like serial killer calm all the time.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
But yeah, it's an interesting thing. So he ends up giving up everything for her. They get together, and then the thing that you hated when you saw it in the theaters, and I I think I had been told, or somebody had spoiled it for me at some point in my life, and then I just forgot about it. So when it got to the moment of them having their sex scene, right, their scene where they finally get together, and then I realized, oh, there's still like almost a half hour of this movie left. Oh boy, what is going to happen? Which one of them is going to die? Was actually what I thought. And then they have like the next morning, and they're sitting there and they're all lovey-dovey, and she's mentioning how they have their whole life together to do things. I'm like, oh, okay, so she dies. Huh. And then like the movie's not subtle about it, right? Because like the for the rest of her time on screen is her like face up in the wind, riding her bike with no hands on a country road. I'm just like, wow, you're just hammering that home. Like, she is loving life right now, which means she's about to die. I do give them credit for having the death happen off screen, her actually hitting the truck. Because I don't know that having the actual accident happen on screen suits this movie or serves any purpose in it.
It was more important because he's sitting there. She had lunch all made up.
Yeah.
With all different foods in that, because she wants to, in them getting to know each other, he's asking her, what does that taste like? What does this feel like? Asking her all these inquisitive questions, and they were talking about pears, and she's like, oh, I think, she looks and makes a fruit salad and's like, oh, I want to get him a pear, because she now knows and she wants to show him everything. So she goes to get a pear, and she's on a bike. But he's in the shower. When he comes out, there's a candle, and when she hits the truck, it's him sitting there, and the candle goes out.
Yeah.
And I thought that was a very powerful moment, more than, like you said, seeing her hit the truck.
Mm-hmm. Because I feel like this movie is already going to get slammed by the type of person that doesn't like this movie anyway. But I think that having the actual like her slamming into the side of that truck while on her bike type thing, or the truck hitting her or something like that, would have all it would have done in the theater was made people laugh. Because I think about a movie like, did you ever see Meet Joe Black?
Yes, I love that movie.
So that movie has a very similar scene, right, with Brad Pitt, and spoilers for anybody who hasn't seen that 25-year-old movie.
But it also happens in the first 15 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. But that's a scene that, for a lot of people, the first time they saw it, almost gets a laugh out of them because it just comes out of nowhere and it doesn't fit the tone, right, of what's going on. And I feel like that's what would have happened if they'd had shown the actual accident. So I like the kind of more artsy version of the candle blowing out. By the way, I'm going to mention this before I forget too. This movie's rated PG-13. And for the most part, it is that, except for I was very surprised by the first surgery scene with her patient that dies, how long that went. That was a much longer scene in that operating room than I was prepared for. And we see her hand massaging the heart, trying to get it to start back up. But then that's not the thing that would make it not be PG-13. The thing that surprised me was there is, and look, I'm not ashamed to say this, if you pay close attention to the scene in the morning after they have their thing, and Nick Cage, Seth is taking a shower for the first time ever, we see some Cage ween.
Yeah, I actually was went, wait, what? Did I see what I think I saw?
Yeah. It definitely, he is there. He is not wearing anything, taking that shower, and it's like a silhouette, but it's still there.
I mean, if you blink, you miss it. I never noticed it before. Like, I knew you got a nice butt shot, but yeah, you get some full frontal Nick.
You see Nicholas and his cage. Is all I'm saying.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, the performances. Go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, which, like, I never really thought of it like you were talking about as a typical handsome romantic type, but I was like, well, they made him look really good in the movie. Like, he was very muscular, and he looked good.
Oh, this was definitely, like I said, this was in that that stretch where he was doing The Rock and then Con Air and Face Off. And I remember in Con Air remarking that he was in real good shape when he made Con Air, and that carried over into this movie. He was in really good shape making this movie. There's a scene where when he's done in the shower, and it's mirroring shots of Maggie riding her bike, no-handed with her arms outstretched, just like feeling the wind and loving life. And there's Seth standing with his arms outstretched from behind. We're seeing him from the waist up, and like he's in really good shape. So yeah, I really enjoyed the performances overall in the movie. I thought that Cage was very restrained, but he also he brought across a lot of emotion for an emotionless character throughout most of the movie. And then, yeah, there's some silly moments. The moment when he wakes up after becoming human is great. By the way, did you catch the super, super quick cameo in that scene when he wakes up on the construction site?
Mm-mm.
Nick Offerman is one of the construction workers.
What's that?
And that cracked me up. Have you ever seen Ron, the character of Ron Swanson from, is it Community? Either way, he's a comedian and an actor. He's been in a bunch of stuff, but it was him for like 2 seconds. He's the guy that asked him, "Is it red?" I was like, "Holy crap!"
That's the best part, because they think he's on some crazy amount of drugs. They're like, "What color was the drugs you took this morning, man?"
Yeah.
Like, what is? When I was doing the behind the scenes, actually Nick Cage said playing the angel was frustrating to him because they can't touch, they don't know emotion, and Nick Cage is very emotional.
Yes.
And he was afraid that they were going to come off very robotic. So there's actually a scene with him kind of pushing back on the director, like, can I add something? Like, let me do something. More with more feeling, more emotion type. So I got the kind of knowing that, I did get the feeling that it's not just Seth being set free, it's Nick Cage being set free, that I can now do what I want, I can feel.
Yeah, there's definitely a bit of that. He gets to stretch a little bit, but even when he's doing, when he's very restrained, there's something to, it's that intensity, right? It's the eyes, and there's an intensity that he brings to all these scenes, and then he would flip that over into this childlike wonderment. When he runs into her at the library for the first time, and he makes himself visible to her, and he's like, "Hey, fancy meeting you here," and she's like, "Weird seeing you here," and his response is like, "But weird is good." And just there's something just childlike about him in that moment too, and I really, really enjoyed that. But yeah, then once he becomes human, he gets to have a little more fun when he's walking down the street, that street in LA that's completely
skipping.
Yeah, he's skipping, singing the song from the Nutty Professor and that old black magic, and he's just okay, yep, he's having some fun here. It was really good. Like I mentioned, Meg Ryan I thought was very good in this.
Oh yeah.
She also tends to bring a lot of emotion with just her face. She doesn't need a lot of words to get it across, which was impressive. And I always like seeing that. And of course, Andre Braugher, I already talked about how much I like him, but he's great. And he has my single favorite moment in the movie, and that's right at the end when he's watching. So after Maggie dies, we see Seth obviously having come to grips with that. There's a very emotional speech he gives, where Cassiel comes to him and is like, if you knew, and I liked, so that whole scene right there with him, Cassiel and Seth are the two angels that interact the most with each other. And
They're friends, I would think.
Yeah, there's a friendship there. I loved all their interactions overall, but there was something really great about that last scene, because it's like Cassiel's as close to understanding what he's going through as any angel would be. And he asks him, first Seth is upset, and he's like, "Am I being punished?" The idea being that if he fell and became human, he'd get punished. And I love Cassiel immediately responds with that's not how it works.
Because you know better than that.
Yeah. And I loved that. I liked how there was never this, you could have easily had some kind of antagonistic thing going on when he starts, like, when Seth starts to talk about, well, what would it be like to be human or to fall or all this, and have Castiel be like, it's against the rules. You can't do that. You know, angels have their purpose, blah, blah, blah. He's just like, no, it sounds pretty cool. Like he's all for it.
I wanted to ask you that at the end. I think Castiel's on the border of doing it himself.
He's definitely
if he finds
intrigued.
Something.
Yeah.
Like, he's open-minded to that. If he finds someone or some reason or something worthy of him falling, I think he's open to the idea.
Yeah. Yeah, because he gets to see Seth after Maggie's death and how upset he is, and they have this conversation, and Castiel asks him, would you change anything knowing what you know now? And for Seth to respond with the line he did, which is, if I could just have one touch, one smell of her hair, one kiss of her mouth, one touch of her hand, I'd give it all up for one, just one. And like, I think that really resonated with Castiel, because he has that moment, and then after that we see him go to the beach and I thought that was really cool how all the angels go to the beach for the sunrise and the sunset and listen to it because they can hear music in it. And the fact that Seth goes back there, takes his shoes off to feel the waves, and then just dives into the ocean, and Castiel's watching all that. And that was the moment. My favorite moment is just Andre Braugher with that grin, that smile just getting bigger and bigger till it's just this belly laugh as he's watching him swim in the ocean. I loved that. That was such a great way to finish things.
Right, and Seth does that because Nathaniel Messenger, like after the diner when he's explaining everything, he's a body wave surfer.
Yeah.
So he takes Seth body waving, but because he's like, I can't hear that, but you can't feel this.
That moment made me laugh so much because Seth, he asks Seth if the angels still watch the sunrise and the sunset. And he says, yes. And they go there and they're standing there and all the angels are watching. And you see Nathaniel standing there, and Seth asks him, can you hear that still? And there's like this moment, he goes, no, I can't. And it's just like really heartfelt moment. And then all of a sudden you hear, maybe I can't hear that, but you can't feel this. And you cut over, and here's Dennis Franz running down the beach naked, stripping his clothes off and diving into the ocean. And I was just like, that's just brilliant. I love that so much. I just could not help but laugh. It was so good. Dennis Franz and Andre Braugher are what really, like, Nick Cage and Meg Ryan are good, and I like both of their performances. But what made this a movie that I really enjoyed were those secondary performances. Andre Braugher, Dennis Franz, Colm Feore. I liked him in this. I kind of wish that there had been more, but I also sort of like that they didn't go in that tropey direction, because the structure of this movie is interesting to me. Almost more than, well, actually for me, more than the story is sort of how it was put together. It's a 2-hour-long movie, which I wasn't actually anticipating. I thought this was going to be like hour and 40 minutes. But it's a 2-hour movie, and it's like an hour and a half of it is the setup for him to fall and then become human and then all of that stuff. And I feel like that's so different from what you would expect a movie like this to do, especially in the 90s, where you would almost feel like that would happen within the first half hour. And then we'd have like that hour and a half left of the awkward him becoming a human and dealing with human life. And like, they didn't do that. They didn't have any sort of, there's no scenes with him and with Seth and Jordan together. So they didn't do that whole like the new boyfriend and the old boyfriend butting heads type stuff that you see in a lot of romantic comedies or even just romance films in general, which I appreciated because there was no need to. And I feel like it would have been drama that I don't feel would be necessary for the story that they're telling when it deals with free will and this idea of what the angels go through. So I'm glad they didn't go that route, but it surprised me because I wasn't expecting the movie to do that. I wasn't expecting it to be an hour and a half before he became human. When they started giving that idea, I thought, oh, that's going to be like the next thing he does. So that was interesting. Obviously, killing Maggie at the end of the movie was an interesting choice.
Well, I knew it was going to happen. I still cried.
Well, yeah,
I was in
because
tears earlier.
because and I get that, because like she's going through all this stuff in her life. She meets this guy. She starts to fall for him. He gives up everything to be with her. She's super happy about that, and then to take her away like that, and it could be looked at as like Seth is being punished, but he isn't. It's just like, that's life. That can happen. Because look at what happened for Messenger. Messenger got 30 years and a wife and kids and grandkids and all this kind of stuff. Like, he got this long, full life with who he fell for. And for Seth, that all went away. Like, the whole reason.
I did like too. Oh, yep. Sorry. I did like too, after Maggie died, he goes to Messenger. And I think that before Cassiel comes, like, I think there is a gap of time, because I think Nathaniel Messenger helps him like get a job and all that, because he knows, because he said the same thing. He goes, I have no ID, I have no background, I have no birth certificate, like, I didn't exist until now, you know. And I think he helped. They do truly become friends.
Oh yeah,
you know. And I like that he goes to him and is able, he has somebody to go to that truly understands everything, and
sure.
he's able to help him.
Oh yeah,
he's not just left alone.
Yeah, which is good, because it very, like, it's a downer of an ending in a way to have that happen to him, to lose Maggie that way. So it is very heartbreaking for that to happen, but it's also heartwarming that at least he's got a friend here. And he can go through that. So I have a question for you. In terms of angels in movies, how do you feel like this one stacks up to a lot of other depictions of angels in movies? And I'll let you think about that for a second. While you do, like, I enjoy this because it's a very different style of angel, especially given the context when it came out. I don't feel like angels were depicted a lot in this way. What this really made me want to do is find Wings of Desire and watch that, the movie that this is based on, because I'm very curious to see the differences in the translation from a German film to this, because this is definitely more Hollywood looking. It's not. I watched a couple minutes of the opening of Wings of Desire, and it's a much more low budget film, which I expected, but I loved the idea that, like, the angels are just everywhere. They're just there. They're all over the place. There's like almost one per person, which I thought was really cool. There's no like set, like, they all wear the same clothing, but there's no set look. You got tall, short, just of all shapes and sizes floating around. They just sort of show up at places. They live in like a library, but I also like that they're always up high. They're always sitting up high on things. And that was a great moment with Messenger when he's like, I had no ID, I had no skills, no nothing, but I could stand being up high. And so I got work on construction on skyscrapers. And it kind of felt like being back home. And I thought that was a cool line. Funny thing about that is that scene where the two of them are sitting on top of the scaffolding. It wasn't on an actual skyscraper, but they definitely shot it with like a forced perspective and all that. But apparently Nick Cage and Dennis Franz are afraid of heights. So to have him have that line of like, being up high feels like back home, I got a kick out of that.
Yeah, actually, the behind the scenes, they actually built that on top of a building.
Okay.
They actually built scaffolding. So they're really sitting up there.
Oh wow.
And yeah, Nick Cage was freaking out up there. And he couldn't do his lines. And he told the director, he goes, listen, you get up there and sit up there for 10 minutes and tell me if you can do those lines. And the director really did it. They went up there, him and the producer, they went up there and sat and got through it. So Nick was like, all right, I guess I'll do it.
Yeah, you know, put your money where your mouth is, Nick.
Yeah, but him and the director had funny thing. But yeah, they which is one of my movie mistakes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because they're sitting in the diner and he's just in his hospital gown.
Oh, right.
But because they have like the safety equipment, when you see them sitting there, Nathaniel Messenger has a robe, and of course Nick Cage has his coat.
Yeah.
So you can't see the safety equipment. And even when they go to the beach, he still has a robe, but he didn't have that robe in the diner. So where did it come from?
I mean, Cage can move. Seth can move at the speed of thought. He ran to the store and grabbed him one.
He ran to the store and got it. Okay.
I'll let that one slide. But yeah, you're right. That
Yeah,
makes
it just
sense.
was a funny. It just was a funny thing I caught today. I'm like, oh, okay. Robe magically appeared.
didn't even think about that, because you're right. He mentions that he's in the hospital gown in the hospital. Then they're in the diner, and then they're on the rooftop. And somewhere between there, he got a robe. So I didn't even like pay attention to that. That's awesome. Yeah, I just liked the idea. Now, I want to get your take on the angels in this, and then I definitely want to talk about the way this was shot. So like, did you like this version of Angels? Was this interesting?
I did, because they also hear your thoughts.
Yeah.
And they're more of just observing us, and they're not really there to interact or interject themselves, and they're just there to be comforting. And yes, when someone passes away, they come and take the person they take him home, is what he tells the little girl in the beginning. He's like,
Boy.
That was I forgot about that. That was rough. I was like,
yeah, talk about starting your movie off with a gut punch. Like, they start the movie off with a little girl passing away from being sick, and like there's Seth there to help her. Although that did then lead to a really cute moment where Seth and Cassiel are sitting on top of a street sign on the freeway talking. Yeah. And he talks about, because Seth's thing is he likes to ask people what their favorite thing was in life. And for this little girl, it was pajamas.
Flannel pajamas, yeah.
With feet. And I love Cassiel's response. He's like, pajamas. That's not bad.
Wait, the best part is they both have notebooks that they're making notes. And I forgot about that. I knew they set out on the street sign and talked, but I'm like, they have notebooks.
Yes.
So would be me if I was an angel observer. Like, I would have my notebook. Making
all
notes.
all the pages are dog-eared. I'm writing in the margins. Yeah, all that.
Yep. All different colors,
Definitely.
That made me giggle.
So, okay. After watching this movie, I jumped onto YouTube and I put in the search term of City of Angels as a horror movie, because I wanted to see if anyone had done, because I've seen those before where somebody takes like an older, I want to say it was like National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation or something was one I saw, where people will take a movie and redo the trailer for it, or a trailer for it, as a different style of movie. And I just thought, man, this would make for a perfect one of those. And sure enough, there was a couple of them where they did that, because this movie really is filmed a lot like a psychological horror. Like the framing and the colors and just all of that doesn't feel like a fantasy romance movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I could see that, because he's definitely a creeper and a stalker.
Yeah. Well, on top of like, just giving Nicolas Cage face every once in a while where he gets the bug eyes going. But yeah, he is a creepy kind of stalker. But there's a moment in the library that was what made me think of it, and is when the two of them are talking and the shot goes up into there's that atrium and all of the levels of the library behind them. And the shot is just all of the angels kind of stepping forward and watching them from this. And I was just like, oh boy, in a different context, that's super creepy to just have them all like stay like it's some sort of an invasion. And
okay, I could see that.
Yeah, like stuff like that where I was like, oh man, you change the music in this and give it like a dun type of moment, and whew, boy, that would creep me out. And like the fact that because the angels move at the speed of thought, there's a few different shots where Seth will just sort of appear, and so that could be played that same way. So I just thought that was I got a kick out of that. Like, this definitely could have been done, but the way it was shot, again, like the lighting and the framing and everything is very almost horror movie like. but then it's not that because of the way that the dialogue is delivered, but the music and the ambiance that they create gives you a different feel. So it's that testament to how things can change just by changing the sound a little bit. You change the music, give it some minor keys, and all of a sudden you've got a totally different feel to this movie, and you're like gripping your chair, worried the whole time that Seth is going to do something bad.
I do love that scene too, where he's like, "Let's go somewhere else."
Yes.
Like, let's go somewhere we can be alone and actually talk.
Yeah, and even like the whole scene where they're chopping vegetables and he cuts through his hand and all that, like you change the pacing of that scene just slightly and suddenly it's very, very different, where he can't be hurt and all that kind of stuff. And again, that kind of that emotionless reaction that he has. And even the first scene in the hallway where they meet, he's standing there, just like standing outside the room. She walks up and asks him if he's a visitor and who he's visiting, and he says it's her, right? He's there to visit her, and asking her if she is having any what is it? I can't remember the word he uses, but it's like, are you in distress? I think is what he says, and he calls her by her name, and then points at her name tag, which we later see just has her first initial on there. Like all of that in a different context suddenly comes across really creepy. Or like, what is it? She says, "I wanted him to live," and his response is, "Well, he is, just not the way you're thinking." And it's like,
Right, and then she goes, "I don't believe in that."
Yeah, and it's like, again, in a different context, that's super creepy line. In this, it's like, it makes sense the way he would phrase it, right? Because he doesn't really have a frame of reference. So the guy is still alive in the sense that angels understand, but humans don't. But it was just one of those moments where I'm like, oh man, you put a little musical sting in there, and suddenly, I don't know if I like this movie.
It could
anymore.
definitely be an alien movie. Like, yeah, he's abducted him.
Yeah, that could work too. Oh, I didn't even think about that. I was going like more demon, but aliens really works. It's fun. I love stuff like that. I like playing around with ideas like that.
But I take it from your talk that you really liked it. I'm glad.
I did. I liked it more than I thought I would. It's not. I will say this isn't a movie I'm going to rush out to watch again, but I did not dislike it. There was things to latch onto with this movie. There's ideas in this movie that I thought were really interesting. The whole free will and the fact that angels have, because again, I come back to like Kevin Smith being one, where angels in that universe don't have the free will, and they can't, like, if in that universe God says decree something about the angels, then that's it for the angels. They have to do that. That's why there's the whole deal where they can't imbibe alcohol, right? Because God decreed they no longer could, so they have to just spit it out. So I thought that was an interesting way to do that, where angels have free will, but the reason that not many of them do that isn't because they're not allowed to. They have no frame of reference to do that. They don't understand what it's like to be human. They just observe them. But you'll get the occasional one who's like, boy, this is really interesting. I want to know more. And they want to explore that more. And that sort of just wonderment of humans. And it makes sense. If you spent that much time around humans every day, all day, hearing their thoughts and everything, you'd probably get curious about that. So
Yeah, Nick Cage called Seth the rebel angel, and I'm like, yep.
yeah, that sounds about right.
That fit Nick Cage. That fits him. Like, Nick would look at him that way. Like, okay, he's a rebel. But, let's talk about the soundtrack.
Yes. So
I actually have the actual jewel case CD still of this, from this movie.
That does not surprise me at all. In fact, I think more people owned the soundtrack to this than probably saw it. Because that soundtrack had the big ones being Sarah McLachlan was on that, and who else? The Goo Goo Dolls, Iris, was like basically written for this movie, I think.
Yes, it was. Yes.
And then I loved the Alanis Morissette song on the
it was
end
also
credits.
written for the movie. Mm-hmm.
Oh, that one was too? Oh, I did not know
yes.
that. Because I really enjoy Alanis Morissette, and that song is like just such a dramatic, like strong song. And yeah, there's a lot of good stuff on here. I mean, you've got I thought the score was fine. Like the actual movie score itself was nothing super memorable, but it wasn't supposed to be. It was supposed to mold, kind of fall into the background, and have more of your. I mean, there's Paula Cole, "Feel in Love," was there, but yeah, the big ones were Sarah McLachlan, which that song went on to become the sad dog song. Right, that's the one that was in the commercial.
Yes.
The commercial that would be one of those where it would start to come on, you'd start to hear that song, you're like, nope, changing the channel.
Yeah.
They're just gonna show, it's just gonna show me a bunch of sad pets. And then yeah, Iris being the other big one. This soundtrack, I mean, Iris was all over the radio at the time, and so was
actually. Oh, sorry.
I was just gonna say so was Uninvited. Alanis Morissette was all over radio.
Yeah, they were up and coming. Yeah, the marketing for that was really good. Actually, I read in the Wikipedia that Uninvited got leaked on the internet.
Oh, really?
And forced the studio to release the soundtrack to the radio stations before the album was released because they didn't want them playing that low poly leaked version out. They wanted them to have the actual version. But yeah, it was.
Oh, wow.
She was picked. They were marketed for it, and also has U2, has U2 and Peter Gabriel.
Yes.
It's called "I Grieve," and after that's what gets me to where I want to cry.
So
it's very powerful.
I love Peter Gabriel. I have loved Peter Gabriel since I was a kid. He's great, and to use "I Grieve" in that moment, right after Maggie died, that is some powerful use of music, and I definitely liked that. That was good. That got the point across really, really well. It's interesting because this is a slow-paced movie. A very I would generously call it deliberately paced, because there's not action in it. There's not like this. There's not any tension. Even really, like the closest we get is that scene where she confronts him with the knife after watching him, cut his thumb. She gets upset, but then that's it. Like the next time they interact is her still wanting him to be around, and him like, because there's that scene where she's at her house, and her dog starts barking, and she goes in the other room, and like the window's open, and when she walks up the stairs and then takes her robe off, and Seth comes up behind her, but he's there, but he's not there. Like that all happened after they had their confrontation.
Right, but you need the confrontation and that was the other thing, is that she tells him to get out. She's covering her face, and she opens her eyes real quick, and he's just gone.
Yeah.
Because that's him trying to tell her, I'm not human, I am not like you, and that you have to have that scene for her to understand it, that he's around but she can't see him.
Yeah,
like that's only way for her to accept that he's an angel, that he's some sort of other being that she can't imagine. And that's one thing that upsets me, is that she finds comfort in her pediatric doctor friend.
Yeah,
right, the baby that it was a dumpster baby, they said, and I'm like, aw. And that scene in particular, she's finally able to sleep. She doesn't sleep all through the night. Like, he's able to comfort her and calm her, and she's able to get a full night's sleep. And she goes and tells her friend, well, the baby can't sleep. I'm like, I think the doctors would have noticed that. Like, if they're like, oh, we did all this work, we did this, I think it would notice his oxygen levels would have been low.
Yeah, that felt a little like the movie didn't need that scene. That scene
really
didn't bring anything to this movie or the story that they were telling, because we hadn't seen the baby for over an hour of film. Right. By that point, it had been so long that I had forgotten about the baby, to be honest. Like, it wasn't like a plot point of any kind. So yeah, I'm with you on that, because like those doctors would have noticed something being off with the baby. For
Yeah,
her to be
not
like,
breathing.
yeah, like the baby isn't sleeping. Did anyone check that? And the pediatrician's just like, I don't know. Like, yeah, no, you'd have noticed at some point.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, she's like, because she puts the stethoscope up to his nose, and she's, oh yeah, that's right, and she spouts off a medical term, and I'm like, one, how did you instantly know that's what he has?
Right.
Two, it's like you would have known it because she talks about like they did ultrasounds, they've done X-rays, they've done all this like blood, they've done everything to figure out why he's so unsettled, and I'm like, you would have noticed that, like. But that's when Jordan comes to propose to her. He's like, hey, that's a good call on the baby. And I think that's a moment when he realized, oh, like, because he's like, oh, you're a brilliant doctor.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think that it seemed like the catalyst for him to come propose to her, but it just, that added to the awkwardness for me.
Yeah. Like I say, you could have cut that scene with her out and the baby, like, completely out of the movie. Changes zero. And I'd have been fine with it. I would have never noticed. Yeah. So, yeah. I don't think this is a perfect movie, and I definitely can understand for people that didn't like it. Like, I get it. I do think that it was enjoyable. It did pretty well. It had a $55 million budget. Worldwide was just shy of $200 million, which in 1998 is not terrible. Like, it more than broke even, although with the marketing, it's hard to tell, but it was like $78 million in the US. It was fine. And I did have a good time with it. I think that it shows the range of Nicolas Cage too. He doesn't just have to be somebody who can go silly or go way over the top or be the action guy. He can do something else as well. And this is a good show of that. And he had good actors around him too. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, this was a good movie. This is a good choice. Thank you, Kit. I appreciate.
You're welcome.
I appreciate you bringing this here, and I always have fun having conversation with you. And so that was great. And Cage-A-Palooza is super fun for me, and I like seeing the different forms of Nicolas Cage.
Yeah. For sure. And I knew you'd love to say, how did you think about her doing surgery to Jimi Hendrix?
That was awesome. I love stuff like that in movies where doctors are throwing music on and playing that in the OR. I assume that maybe that's like real life, but I just love that kind of stuff. And yeah, if you're going to do surgery to somebody, let it be Hendrix.
If you're in there for 5 hours.
Yeah, that's true.
The comedy of like, uh-oh, like they're closing him up. I've lost a sponge.
that did make me chuckle too, where everybody's diving around looking for it. Yeah, that was good. So thank you, Kit, for being on. This was when I knew. Thank you for having
me.
Yeah, when I knew that we had talked about this last year. You had brought up this movie, and so when we got closer and closer to August, I'm like, ooh, I got to make sure I get a hold of Kit, figure out what week to do this movie.
Yes, thank you.
So this was super, super fun. Cage-A-Palooza for the 4th year in a row. It's just crazy to me that we've been doing it for that long. Continues on. Next week, I've got Dennis from Botched. The Botched podcast is coming back, and we are going to watch a brand new Nicolas Cage movie. That's right. We're watching The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. I haven't seen it yet. He hasn't seen it. I am very, very intrigued to watch this movie. Came out just this year. And
I was going to say, I've never heard of that one.
It's brand new, starring Nicolas Cage as Nicolas Cage. It also has Pedro Pascal in it. And I can't wait to see it. It's brand new, very supposedly very meta. I remember seeing the trailers for it, thinking, "Oh, this is going to be fun," and then thinking to myself, "But I can't go see it in the theater. I've got to wait." So I'm going to get to watch that next week with Dennis, and I can't wait. I am looking forward to that. Kit, where can people find you if they want to see you or hear you some more? Because I know you get onto Twitch every once in a while, right?
Every once in a while, but usually I'm in Brian Dunaway's Discord. We hang out. We race on Sundays.
Yep.
Playing some Forza or Fall Guys. So.
And yeah. You help. You sometimes help Brian Dunaway on his streams too, don't you?
Yes.
And for those of you that don't know, Brian Dunaway, the Brian Dunaway, or Mission Deep, is a great guy and a fun person to watch on stream with his gaming and retro gaming he's been doing recently. A lot of that, so that's cool. And Kit can be found there and in the Discord. And Kit, thank you so much for being here this week. This was super fun.
Thank you.
I have a couple of clips I wanted to play.
Oh, yes.
I almost forgot about them. Let's see. There was this one I just labeled as impossible. So here's that.
It's impossible. Some things are true whether you believe them or not.
Oh, right. Okay. That was a callback to a line that was used earlier in the movie.
Yeah, it was Nathaniel Messenger talking to Seth.
Yeah, Messenger talking to Seth. Seth had said that to Maggie earlier in the movie, so then Messenger says it back to Seth with a little wink. I liked that. The other one that I caught was when he was talking about, I think it was the little girl, and asking something to do with, asking if she was asking if angels had wings and why they didn't have wings and all of that. And I just liked this line.
She said, "What good would wings be if you couldn't feel the wind on your face?"
And I was like, oh, that's cute.
Mm-hmm.
I like that one. So there was a couple of clips from the movie. It's funny, this was not a movie with a lot of clips, a lot of clippable audio, partly because it was so much of it was so quietly delivered.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
I'm surprised you didn't catch the line of, "I can't hear that, but you can't feel this."
Yeah, I thought about it.
That's great.
But yeah, so that's City of Angels. We are 3/5 of the way through Cage-A-Palooza 2022. So next week, like I said, is the unbearable weight of massive talent. It's gonna be fun, and I think that one's streaming. Might only be rentable right now, but yeah, everyone that I've talked to that has seen it has loved it. So I can't wait. Can't wait to watch that one. And then after that, for the final week, I'm watching Pig with David Luzader. We're going to watch that one. That one just came out last year. Another one that
I've
I heard
good things about that one.
Yeah, so have I. So I'm looking forward to that. So that's the next couple of weeks as we roll along. Cage-A-Palooza 2022 on Wait You Haven't Seen. I can't wait for it. So Kit, thank you again so much for being here, and we'll have to have you back sometime.
Yes, always a pleasure.
All right. For everyone else out there, remember to enjoy your movies, and let's be excellent to each other.
Where are you headed? Tahoe. Reno. Tahoe. I'm going to Reno. I'm going to Tahoe. Hop in. We'll figure it out when we get there.
That one got me. I couldn't help it. I started laughing at it because it's just that look on his face too while he's delivering that line. It's so good.
That was one thing that I forgot to mention, that it did frustrate me when he became human, that like he didn't seem to understand how to get around or do anything. I'm like, have you been observing humans and you don't understand how things work? I don't.
He kind of did, but he also, like, you have to think he spent most of his time just appearing in places. He didn't have to.
True.
He didn't have to deal with LA traffic. Like, of all the cities to become human in, he had to become human in LA.
Oh, and the one thing I did notice is that the first he runs into the group of I believe they're Chinese or the Oriental ladies, and they're chattering at him in their language, and he doesn't understand.
Yeah, so that was definitely something that was different from the German film, where apparently when he becomes human, he still remembers every language.
Oh, okay.
So I thought that was interesting. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to say this is a great movie, but I had a good time with it. It was a good choice.
Well, at least you had, but you enjoyed it. You had fun and laughter, and you didn't hate sitting there for 2 hours.
I didn't hate it. There were a couple genuine laugh out loud moments. I loved those.
And I forgot how funny Andre Brower.
Oh, he's so
His last
good.
name?
Yes. Oh, he was great.
But yeah, I didn't realize too, the producer Dawn Steele, this was her idea.
Yeah.
And she passed away a year before it came out.
Oh, that's right. I forgot to mention that. Yeah, that was kind of sad. They did dedicate it to her.
Yeah, I didn't realize
though.
either. Yeah, they did. And that's why I liked, like, I watched all the behind the scenes stuff before I rewatched the movie, and it made it more interesting because I'm like, oh, I learned all kinds of stuff I didn't really know.
Yeah.
Which I thought I had the DVD and I can't find it, but
Yeah, I was looking around and it was available through Hoopla, which is the library system. So
okay.
I had a library card, and so that gave me a Hoopla account. So like, there's a lot of movies available on that that
cool.
are free. They're free streaming if you have a library card, and they're ad
okay.
free.
Oh, nice. Yeah, no, I went to Amazon Prime and rented it.
Your version might have looked better than mine. I think the DVD transfer they did for Hoopla was not great. It was fine, but it wasn't like high def.
Yeah. And I was impressed too because they really went to Tahoe, and the director fought for it. And he said he's like, you can't fake that in a studio lot. And he's like, even when when we all got here, the actors and everything was just very chill.
That's awesome.
So
I do like stuff
I
like
liked,
that, and the Tahoe's close enough you can get away with it.
Yeah. So they did and the one like the lady about the sets and stuff, like she's real practical, and that's why they were on top of a building and they built that skyscraper, part of that skyscraper up and stuff. And I didn't know Nicolas Cage is afraid of heights until he was freaking out.
Yeah. Oh man, that would get me. That's tough.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Well, kid, thank you.
So, thank you.
And
Appreciate it.
You missed race day today as well, didn't you?
I did. I was watching this. I was taking notes and watching this. But I had overtime for work and stuff to do too. So.
Yeah, I had it was supposed to be D&D day, then that got canceled, but we did some board games. So, but I most likely will be back at it next week. Race day's fun. I have a good time with it.
Yes, it is.
I did hop on and do a little bit of
fascinating.
racing earlier this week, just on my own, trying to catch. Something's wrong with my my playthrough of Forza though. I cannot get the street races. Like, I have it unlocked for the street race portion, but I can't find the street race tent. Like, I just can't find it. I don't know what happened. So, yeah, I'll have to figure that one out.
Interesting.
But, yeah. Well, anyway.
But no, it's always fun. I'm glad you enjoyed it, and yeah, it was really neat. Like, I forgot that the Google's Doll song and Uninvited, like I said, those two were written specifically for this. And actually, the Wikipedia said for Google Dolls that he was having a writer's block at the point in time, and this helped. He got like an early screening, and this helped rejuvenate his writing and kind of his career.
Oh wow,
was
there
writing that.
That's
and
pretty
I'm like,
cool.
it's a powerful song, and like when it came together and everything, he was like, "Oh, thank God."
I bet it is definitely a powerful song. If I had to choose, I mean, I'm taking the Uninvited over it. But that's not a knock on the Goo Goo Dolls. It's just how much I like Alanis Morissette. So
yeah.
But yeah,
I
a
like
hell of a soundtrack.
Google Doll song, but yeah, I couldn't wait for you to hear. I'm like, oh, he's gonna laugh at this. She's listening to Hendrix.
That was awesome.
She's doing surgery.
I loved it. Alrighty, well, I will let you get back to your evening.
Yes.
And we'll chat with you later.
Yes. Have a great night. Thank
you.
you.
As well. Mm-hmm. Bye.
Bye.
And to all you lovely people out there, thank you for hanging out. I think you need to complete the first race yet. I just don't remember where on the map it starts. Yeah, I just had trouble finding it. I don't know what's going on with that. I'll figure it out. That's the only section I have left is the street racing for that stuff. So I got plenty of races to do. But anyway, all right. So tomorrow night is Those Were the Days, and we're talking Darkwing Duck as we kick off our new month of episodes. So that'll be fun. And Let's Watch Highlander on Tuesday, and possibly some more streams and stuff throughout the rest of the week before The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent this weekend. This 1 week from today. Yes, let's get dangerous. So thank you, everyone, for being here. You're all wonderful, and have a good rest of your evening, and I will catch you all next time. Bye.